Today, we're going to be testing out dagger damage and how it scales with Spec. Now, let me explain how I'm doing today's tests. I'm taking daggers, just a flat tier 8 dagger, and I'm going to test how much damage they do with the most popular builds based on what the dagger is all about. Let me show you on the screen. Get ready to pause. Alright, so, as you can see, I have a whole lot of text here laid out. Let me get rid of that watermark so you can see it a little easier. And this covers the one-handed dagger, several different little varieties, the dual daggers, okay? Now, for further testing for the rest of this video, I'm only going to be using the highest damage combo or the most reliable, safe combo. So let me explain a little bit more about that, okay? So for one-handed dagger, almost everyone knows the only thing that you use with a one-handed dagger is the hunter jacket, alright? So, with that said, there's no other reason to use other armors other than hunter jacket with the one-handed dagger. The most popular build being with the assassin's hood, so you can reset the cooldown, so you can just nuke whatever monster you're trying to kill. Alright? And that's pretty much it for the one-handed dagger, whereas the dual daggers, there's a popular assassin jacket build that a lot of people use. There is the druid robe build that I have popularized, and you can see here, I've checked the damage of all the different varieties of combos that you would use with the dual daggers, and, well, my druid robe variant comes out on top for damage, okay? It's very squishy, and it's not highly survivable like the assassin jacket. However, you do get about 270 more damage out of it, which is one-shot territory. Alright, and then claws. I compared claws while wearing a mercenary jacket because a lot of solo gankers use claws, and the mercenary jacket will keep you alive when you combine it with the E ability. Whereas I also tried a druid robe variant for just an all-in one-shot kill a guy and then get murdered by, 10 blueberries, which is if you're flagged in the red zone and blues swarm and kill you. The druid robe variant obviously does more damage, but it doesn't really do that much when you throw in a tier 8 poison potion, which is a lot of the more popular claw users all use poison potions, okay? And then, just for fun, I threw in the bloodletter, but I'm only comparing the bloodletter's E attack, because here's the thing, the bloodletter, it's a ratting weapon, it's a weapon that you use if you want to do some 8.3 faction PvP and get one-shots on people. It's a great weapon to use if you're hunting down flagged players in the red zone with a giant mob, because people can't really run away from bloodletter, okay? But other than that, it doesn't really have a lot of combo or nuke potential until someone is below 40% health, in which case you're going to be using almost all defensives anyway. And then, of course, the Demon Fang, I don't think anyone's really figured out a real use for the Demon Fang yet. Even if you do the highest DPS combo possible with it, it still sucks, because the Demon Fang also hurts the hell out of you, the user, when you cast it 3 times. It's a really terrible weapon. Then you have the Death Givers. Now, let me talk about Death Givers for a sec, because we're not going to be testing Demon Fang in this video. We're not going to be testing Death Givers in this video, and the reason why is Death Givers is a 1-on-1 or a 1-on-X, like 3 or 4. I can 1v4 people with Death Givers, assuming they're not overpowered or, running encounter builds, because the way Death Givers works is you're basically kind of bouncing in and out of range, and only trading with your opponents whenever you have your cooldowns and you have your stealth up, okay? So it's not really a weapon that we're going to care about scaling, because you basically just whittle someone down to 50%, and then you do your all-in combo and they die. And then Bridled Fury is a Zerg versus Zerg weapon. You can see that the damage is actually pretty low compared to all the other weapons. And again, it's a Zerg versus Zerg situation weapon that kind of lets you do a little mini nuke on a group of players and then throws you backwards to get out of combat quickly. It's kind of a niche weapon. We're not going to talk about or cover it. Now, for the rest of the weapons, which is going to be the Claws Dagger, One-Handed Dagger, and Bloodletter, those are the 4 weapons we're covering today, and we're going to start by scaling our spec. This is at 700 spec, at basically the old world max spec, okay? We're going to scale everything down to 1, and then do these damage tests again, but only the main combos, not like the halvesies combos, okay? Alright, so here is the tests, alright? Now, if you wanted to see the damage for just, being at regular 700 spec, that was at the start of the video, so rewind if you need to see those numbers, but this is pretty much it. You can see that from 1 to 100 spec is the biggest jump. 100 to 400 is pretty decent when you're buffed, but anything after that seems kind of wasted, okay? And what I mean by that is that if you have everything at 100 and you put your daggers at 120, spending those, 50 million combat fame credits, you only gain like maybe 180 something damage. It's really not a lot. And then from going to complete utter max spec from 720 is only 14 damage, which it's a little hard to judge the damage of Dagger because it's a bunch of auto attacks. I'm basically using the full duration of Bloodthirsty Blade while buffed, so the damage, depending on how many autos I'm calculating, it's a little hard and difficult, but this is the damage that you can expect using these spec numbers against a target dummy, a training dummy, which honestly, these training dummies, they take a little bit less damage than a tier 5 yellow zone mob. So they're kind of semi-tanky. They're not really the best targets to try out on, but they're still decent. But regardless of that, that's one-handed dagger, and I'm using a torch, so I'm not using any damage buffs. Most builds are going to use torch with Hunter Jacket, use the Assassin Hood so you can get your cooldowns back again. And this build is either used to gank players with kind of like a stun lock build to kill them with a stun helmet, or against mobs so that you can just infinitely sustain. This was the first ever build that people used to solo group dungeon mobs way back in the day. So I just want to show you guys the damage of the current game, because I want to make sure that I test all these damages so I know a good build to run when the Mists of Avalon come out. Alright, let's go to the next one. Alright, here is the dual daggers numbers, and they're quite surprising. Now, I'm only showing the combo because if you just use dual daggers without a combo, they do piddly for damage. Alright, so you can see from 1 to 100 spec is a massive jump of 516 damage. 1 to 400, not that much, but 100 to 720 spec, it's pretty decent. It's another like 350 plus damage. Okay, so from 1 to max spec is like at least almost 800 more additional. It's over 800 damage, which is 1/3 additional. Like say the average opponent with 1,200 IP runs about 2,500 HP, and you're doing an additional 800 with your combo, so that puts you in kill territory. That puts you in like 2-shot territory, easy mode, right? And then of course at absolute maximum spec, you are dealing somewhere around 990 more damage. Okay, so is it worth it to max out daggers if you like dual daggers? For 990 damage, yeah, that's a pretty big jump, though. That is a massive, it is a huge investment, okay? But you can see that the numbers, it's not bad, from 720 to 840, it's a 120 jump, which is pretty decent for the amount of effort that you put into that. Alright, so this is the result of Claws, which it's not the most impressive when you spec it up. 1 from 100 is a nice jump. After that, 400 to 720 is an okay jump, but that is a huge investment. That is very long-term life. Main people that main daggers might be able to see that jump of 175, but most players won't. So here's the numbers. And yes, this is with the Mercenary Jacket. This is the Alganage or Alganage combo. No potions, no beef stew, so you can bump up the damage by 300 to 400 more than these numbers show if you're willing to spend the money to do so. But just for budget builds, for budget cheap sets, where you just run out, kill a guy, and then die to the blob, these are the numbers that you're going to expect when you hit somebody with your E-spell. Alright, and finally, the most underwhelming one of all. This weapon has been heavily nerfed, I feel like, and that's the Bloodletter. Alright, let's look at the Bloodletter. The first number in the first column is how much your lunging stab, your E ability does. And remember, your E ability does less damage if the opponent is basically above 40% life, okay? So, now, if you hit an opponent below 40% life, it's going to deal way more damage, which is the number on the right side, but also, it increases the cooldown rate, as in your E ability, by 90%, okay? And what that means is that it basically takes like 2.7 seconds-ish, sort of, a little bit more, maybe like 3 seconds to go back off cooldown, so you can kind of spam it, as long as you're hitting opponents that are below 40% life. So while these numbers are kind of low, the numbers on the right is something that you can basically cast every 3 seconds. So think about it like that, okay? So at 1 spec, 579, not that much. 706 at 100. It doesn't really scale much more than that, okay? So you're getting like 120, 130 damage-ish, kind of around that ballpark for 100 spec. And then after that, you gain 30 damage. But then from 4 to 720, which is a huge jump, by the way, that's a lot. That's a big commitment. You're getting another like 50, 60 something. I don't know exactly how much. From there, you know, there's another jump to 800, and then at maximum spec, you deal 13 more damage at maximum max spec. But if you want to buff yourself, because a lot of times people use dash, that's a damage steroid. That'll let you do 909 at max spec, and then if you also throw a poison potion at someone, that increases it to 1060. Remember, that's 1060 damage every 3 seconds. Especially if you have an entire field of people that are low on HP, you're just going to be zipping around and just executing everybody, alright? So if you want to know the hard math on that, at 720 spec, if you happen to fight someone below 2000 maximum HP, you one-shot them when they have 40% or less life, okay? And then at max spec, with the dash and poison potion, you can kill someone up to 2650 HP, just to compare, buff and unbuffed, when they have 2 bars of life. For those that don't know, let me show you what I mean by bars of life real quick. Alright, you see my character here? Zooming in doesn't really change the bars of life much, but you see right here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yellow bars of life. Each of these yellow bars represents 20% maximum HP. So when your target is slightly below just 2 bars of life remaining, that's when you hit them with the old bloodletter stab. And that is how you deal as much damage as possible with bloodletter, for those that don't know. But guys, that concludes our DPS damage testing for today. I'm sorry that I'm not showing you just raw damage on Deathgivers or Bridled Fury or Demon Fang. Honestly, they're not that much. They scale weirdly and they're situational. Deathgiver's probably one of the most fun weapons in the entire game in my opinion. However, it's not meant for just front-loading a ton of damage. You do basically a little dueling dance with the enemies, and you just kind of pop in and out of invisibility, and then once they're at below 50%, you just nuke them. And that's basically how the fight goes. Out of all the weapons in the game, I believe that people have problems the most with Deathgivers out of any other weapon ever. And that's why I'm doing today's little test, to see if the other daggers are even worth using to pump up the damage of Deathgivers, which it's not. If you like Deathgivers, just pump this to 100, you're good to go. You don't need to put this at 120, you don't need all your other daggers at 100, but what we did find out is that if you like the dagger pair, then you want to pump up every other dagger possible, because this thing actually gets a decent amount of damage when you level it up in the very high amounts. Guys, that's all I've got today. I'm sorry that if I didn't test certain combos that you prefer. I just tested the popular ones, or the ones that I would use. For instance, like I said, the Claw one, almost everyone that I've seen uses Mercenary Jacket for the sustain, because you pop Mercenary Jacket's Bloodlust, you cast that Elder Claw, or you cast the Claw's Disembowel, and you've basically healed half your life bar. If you use the Druid Robe, which is the stronger combo, you're only dealing like 300 to 400 more damage at the trade-off of over 1000 HP regeneration. So it's really not worth it, and then like most of the time people use Claws to bait someone to attack them, and then they just nuke them down. Anyway guys, that's all I got. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Thank you for watching this DPS damage test video. I really do appreciate you guys, and I hopefully this helps you understand dagger damage just a little bit better. If you could leave a like for me, leave some comments, you know, ask me questions. I read every comment. I may not respond to every comment, but I do read them all, okay? And also, make sure you're subscribed, because I got videos every day on this channel, and make sure that if you want to leave a monetary donation, because this video took me all day to make. It took me all damn day. You know, just click the thanks button down below, leave me a couple bucks if you want. It shows up in the comments with how much you donated. It's a big flex. It makes you a big baller, right? And if you want to become a channel member, that's like being subscribed on Twitch, but it's better because it's on YouTube. That is $5 a month. Click the join button down below. You'll get access to private, more personal videos. One of those videos is how to be a YouTuber. I go over what recording software I use and the settings, what editing software I use and the settings. I go over how to do your tags, titles, thumbnails, search engine optimization, and all that stuff, all in like just a quick 40-minute video. I basically made it for myself in case I get hit on the back of the head and forget who I am and what I do. So it is that informative. It's very snappy. I think it's worth the $5. Also, in the pinned comment, if you scroll down to the comment section, there will be a pinned comment by me. It has a members-only playlist. You can click on it, and if there's any videos there that interest you at all, feel free to become a channel member. It's $5 a month. You can cancel anytime. I think YouTube even refunds it if you feel like you didn't like the video or something. Anyway, guys, make sure you're subscribed because videos every day on this channel. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Take care.